My wife cheated on me with her boss, then suddenly claimed inheritance worth $500, $0 that I didn't know about, only to find out she forged my signature to sell our family home for $300, $0. Now we're battling in court over the property and her betrayal. Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be that guy, the one who gets by his wife's betrayal in the most savage way possible. But here I am, living it. Honestly, the most shocking thing wasn't even the affair itself. It was the way everything unraveled in just a few days, like some twisted domino effect. One day I was just a normal guy, happily married too, thinking everything was fine. The next, I'm discovering she's been screwing her boss, right under my nose. And then, bam, I find out she's been hiding a whole secret about a massive inheritance that's worth $500,000, and she forged my signature to sell our house for a quick cash grab. It's like my entire life was a lie and I didn't even see it coming. We'd been together for about 8 years. I thought we had a good thing going, sure, we had our fights, but nothing that screamed betrayal. Was always a little bitchy, quick to lie, quick to turn on the charm when she wanted something. She'd always been ambitious, but I never suspected she'd cheat on me, especially not with her boss. Was her boss at the marketing firm she worked at. She'd been working there for 3 years, climbing the ladder, and I always thought she was dedicated. Turns out, she was just using her position to get closer to him. I noticed she started acting weird about her phone, hiding texts, deleting messages. She'd get defensive when I asked about it, saying I was being paranoid. But I wasn't stupid. I knew something was off. It all blew up one night when I came home early from work unexpectedly. I'd been feeling uneasy for a few days, noticing her distracted, secretive. I decided to check her phone while she was in the shower, a move I regret because that's when I saw the messages. There were explicit texts between her and talking about meeting up after hours, about how much they enjoyed being together, how she was done pretending around me. I felt like I was punched in the gut. My heart started pounding and my mind raced. I saw enough to know she'd been lying to me for months, probably longer. I didn't even know what to do next. I just stood there holding her phone, realizing everything I thought was real was just a fiction she'd been spinning. When she got out of the shower, I confronted her. I showed her the messages and her face twisted into this bitchy smirk. She looked at me like I was the one in the wrong. "Oh, that," she said, rolling her eyes. "It's nothing, just some stupid flirtation. It's just a boss I talk to sometimes. You're overreacting." That's when I lost it. I told her I saw everything, that I knew she'd been lying all along. Her excuses started flowing. She said she was bored, that I was never around enough, that made her feel alive again. She even had the nerve to call me insecure and paranoid. But I was. I knew her pattern. She'd been cheating on me for months, maybe longer, and I was just blind to it because I loved her. The emotional fallout hit me hard. I felt betrayed, humiliated, like I'd been played for a fool. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I could have been so blind. I was angry, furious at her for cheating and for lying about everything. But I also felt this deep sadness, like I'd lost not just my wife, but also the trust I had in everything we built together. The worst part was realizing she didn't care about my feelings. She was more upset that I found out than about the fact she'd been screwing around. She told me I was overreacting, that I was making a big deal out of nothing, and that I should just get over it. Her attitude made me realize she had no remorse, no shame. I felt sick, and I knew I had to do something, but I wasn't sure what yet. I just knew I couldn't stay in that house with her. Not after what I'd seen. After that night, everything changed. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and I kept replaying her words and that damn message thread in my head. It was like a storm inside me, anger, betrayal, confusion, all swirling together. I started digging into her phone more, trying to find out exactly how long this had been going on, what else she'd lied about. That's when I stumbled across the inheritance thing. Turns out had recently come into a sizable inheritance 500 from her grandmother's will, something I never knew about. It was buried in some old legal documents she had kept hidden. I felt like I'd been punched again. How could she keep something like that from me? And more importantly, how did she think she could just steal my house, forge my signature, and sell it for $300, without me knowing? I started connecting the dots. She'd been planning this for a while. She'd been talking about getting out of the house, about needing money to start her own business. But I also knew she was lying. That inheritance was supposed to be mine if anything happened to her or if we split up. But she'd hidden. It all kept it from me and then used it as a weapon. I couldn't believe how cold she'd been about everything. I felt betrayed not just because she cheated, but because she'd been sneaky, manipulative, and downright dishonest about her entire life. I was furious that she'd forged my signature to sell our family home, our house, the place where we built our life. That house wasn't just bricks and mortar. It was memories, stability, the last thing I thought was safe from her greed. I knew I had to act fast. I contacted a lawyer, someone who specialized in property disputes and fraud. The more I dug, the more I realized how deep her deception ran. She'd been grooming her plan for months, fake documents, fake signatures, everything. I found out she'd already sold the house for $300, and the money was in her account. I felt sick. That house was supposed to be our future, and she just handed it over to a stranger without my knowledge. I confronted her again, this time with the lawyer on the line, demanding answers. She shrugged and said, "It's just business. You don't understand how hard I've been working to get us ahead." Yeah, right. She lied and cheated her way to a fortune, all while pretending to be the perfect wife. The extent of her betrayal hit me like a freight train. Meanwhile, her attitude was still the same, bitchy, dismissive, and full of excuses. She kept insisting she deserved everything because she worked so hard, as if that justified her taking what wasn't hers. She accused me of being paranoid, said I was overreacting, that I was jealous of her success. But I knew better. I saw her true colors now. She's manipulative, selfish, and willing to destroy everything we had just to get what she wanted. I felt like I was living someone else's nightmare. I was angry at her, but I was also hurt. How could I have been so blind? How could I have loved someone so dishonest? I wanted to believe I could fix this, but deep down, I knew I had to fight for what was rightfully mine, and that meant going to court and making her pay for what she'd done. That's when the real battle started. I decided I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I was going to fight her, get my house back, and hold her accountable for all her lies and theft. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about respect, integrity, and reclaiming my life. I couldn't trust her anymore. She'd shattered everything I believed in. I had to step up, even if it meant tearing everything apart. This was just the beginning of a long, messy legal fight, and honestly, I didn't know how it would turn out. But one thing was clear. Betrayal had changed everything, and I wasn't going to let her win. The legal process moved fast after I handed everything over to my lawyer. I had to get a court order to freeze her accounts, stop her from selling or transferring any more property, and start the process of reclaiming the house. The whole thing was surreal. I kept thinking about how she'd lied so effortlessly, how she'd manipulated me into thinking she was just ambitious, not a thief. She told me she needed money to start fresh. But what she really wanted was to wipe out our entire life together and run off with or whoever she thought could give her more. The betrayal was one thing, but the fact she'd forged my signature on the sale documents made everything worse. I couldn't believe she thought she could get away with it. While waiting for the court's decision, she kept trying to spin her story. She called me every day, begging for a chance to explain, but her explanations were all bullshit. She'd say she was just trying to secure her future, that I was overreacting and that I was paranoid. She'd cry, call me names, accuse me of being controlling. But I knew better. I saw through her lies. She was just trying to justify her actions, to make herself look like the victim. Meanwhile, I was losing sleep, obsessing over every detail, trying to figure out how I'd fix this mess. I had no idea how deep her deception went or how much damage she'd already caused. One of the most shocking moments came when I discovered she'd already moved out of the house with the money. The house was empty, stripped of anything valuable, and she was living somewhere else, probably with or whoever she was screwing now. She left me with nothing but a pile of lies and a broken life. I felt so betrayed, like everything I'd built was just a house of cards ready to collapse. I started questioning everything about our relationship, about her character. How could she do this? How could she lie so convincingly? And most of all, how did I not see it coming? I thought we had a good life, but it was all a facade. She was just waiting for the right moment to take everything from me. The court date finally arrived after weeks of back-and-forth legal battles. I remember sitting in that courtroom, feeling like I was about to face my worst nightmare. She showed up looking confident, bitchy as ever, with her lawyer by her side. I couldn't help but feel a mixture of anger and disgust. When the judge reviewed the documents, it was clear she'd forged my signature on the sale. There was no denying it. The evidence was overwhelming. I saw her trying to lie her way out of it, claiming she had authority because she was the owner now, but the judge cut her off. The court ordered her to return the house, to pay back the money, and to face charges of fraud. It was a small victory, but it didn't undo the pain she caused. Throughout the court proceedings, she kept insisting she was the victim, that I was controlling and jealous, that she deserved her share because she worked so hard. She even had the audacity to call me possessive and insecure, as if that justified her betrayal. I was furious. How could she be so callous? I realized she'd been lying to herself as much as she'd been lying to me. Her greed and selfishness knew no bounds. I felt a strange sense of relief when the judge finally ruled in my favor, but the damage was done. I'd lost my trust, my home, and a part of my life I'll never get back. The fight was over, but the emotional scars lingered. I knew I'd have to rebuild from this somehow, but right now, I just felt exhausted, betrayed, and empty. After the court's decision, things didn't immediately go back to normal, or at least what I thought was normal before all this happened. The house was technically mine again, but walking back into it felt strange, like stepping into a shell of what used to be our home. Was ordered to return the property, but I knew she'd already spent the money she got from selling it. The emotional toll was heavy. I felt like I'd been robbed not just financially, but also of my sense of stability and trust. The betrayal cut deep, and I found myself oscillating between anger, sadness, and a strange sense of numbness. I was furious at her for forging my signature, for lying, for sneaking around behind my back. But I was also hurt, realizing I loved a woman who was capable of such deception. In the weeks that followed, I started to piece my life back together. I hired a private investigator to track her financial activities, to see if she'd done this kind of scam before. Turns out, she'd been planning this for months, maybe years, trying to build her own empire at my expense. I also discovered she'd been secretly transferring money from her inheritance into offshore accounts, trying to hide her tracks. It made me realize how much she'd been manipulating everyone, including me, for her own benefit. The realization that she'd lied about everything, even her feelings, made me question every moment of our marriage. I kept asking myself why I didn't see it earlier, why I was so blind to her true nature. Meanwhile, I had to deal with the aftermath of the legal battle. I started to think about what I wanted for myself now. I decided to file for divorce. I couldn't stay married to someone who'd betrayed me so completely. I also started seeing a counselor to help process the emotional trauma. It was hard, but I knew I needed to work through the pain. I was angry at her for destroying what we had, but I also realized I had to forgive myself for not seeing the signs sooner. That's when I began to focus on rebuilding my life, getting a new place, working on my career, and trying to find some sense of peace. But the betrayal lingered. Every time I saw the house, I remembered what she did, how she forged my signature, how she used me, how she stole from us. The most surprising part was her attitude during all this. She kept insisting she was the victim, that I was controlling and jealous, that she only did what she had to do to escape a life she found stifling. She called me possessive, insecure, and paranoid, as if I was the one at fault for uncovering her lies. I couldn't believe how she spun everything to make herself look innocent. It was like she was trying to rewrite history, to make me the bad guy. But I saw through her bullshit. I knew her for what she was, a manipulative, selfish woman who was willing to destroy everything if it meant getting what she wanted. That realization made me more determined to move on, to cut her out of my life completely. Now I'm still healing. I've learned a lot from this nightmare, things I wish I'd known before. Trust is fragile and some people are just good at hiding their true selves. I want to warn anyone reading this, be careful. Don't ignore the signs of manipulation or greed. Sometimes the person you love can turn out to be someone completely different behind closed doors. I'm trying to rebuild, to find some happiness again, but I know it'll take time. I can't forget what she did, but I can learn from it. And honestly, I just want to move past this, find someone trustworthy, and never let someone like her get that close again. My advice: watch out for the red flags, keep your eyes open, and don't be afraid to fight for what's yours, because some people will take everything if you let them. The process of rebuilding my life hasn't been easy, and honestly, I still wake up some mornings feeling the weight of everything she took from me. The betrayal changed me. I've become more guarded, more cautious about who I trust. But at the same time, I've learned to value myself more. I realized I was too blind in love, too trusting of someone who was just using me as a stepping stone for her own greed. That realization hurt, but it also freed me in a strange way. I've started focusing on my career again, putting energy into work that I used to enjoy before she turned everything upside down. I've also been seeing a therapist, trying to sort through the anger, the sadness, and the betrayal. It's helping, but some days are still really tough. One thing I've come to understand is that her actions weren't just about money. They were about control and a complete disregard for what we had. She forged my signature on those property documents thinking she could just erase me and move on. When I think about that, I get so angry. It's like she thought she could buy her way out of everything, that money could fix her problems or make her happy. But I know better now. Money isn't everything, especially when it's gained on lies and betrayal. I also realize I was more invested in the idea of our future than in her as a person. I was blinded by the life we built, not seeing the cracks until it was too late. The aftermath has been I filed for divorce and the paperwork is in the system. I want to get her out of my life completely. I don't want to be reminded of her every time I look at the house or think about what she did. I've started to find new hobbies, working out, reading, reconnecting with old friends. Slowly, I'm trying to rebuild my confidence and trust in myself. But I can't shake the feeling that she's still out there somewhere, trying to cover her tracks or maybe even planning her next move. That paranoia lingers, but I try to keep it in check. I know I need to focus on my healing and not let her control my thoughts. What's been really eye-opening is how many people have gone through similar things. I've spoken to friends who had their own betrayals, and it's comforting to know I'm not alone. Still, knowing that doesn't make the pain any easier. I kept asking myself, why me? Why did I let someone like get so close? But I've come to accept that sometimes people hide their true selves very well. The lesson here is to be more cautious, to not ignore the red flags, and to hold on to your integrity no matter what. If you're in a relationship and things start feeling off, trust your gut. Don't wait until everything's destroyed before you take action. Looking ahead, I know I'll eventually move on. I want to find someone who respects me, who values honesty and loyalty. I've learned that real trust isn't given blindly, it's earned over time. And I'll make sure I never let someone manipulate me again the way did. For now, I'm just taking it one day at a time, focusing on healing and making sure I don't carry this baggage forever. Because at the end of the day, I deserve better. I've been through hell, but I know I'll come out stronger. And I hope anyone else facing betrayal can find the strength to do the same. Looking back, I realize that this entire ordeal has reshaped how I see trust, love, and even myself. I used to believe that if you loved someone enough, that was enough to make everything work. But now I understand that love isn't just about feelings. It's also about honesty, integrity, and respect. If those are missing, what's left isn't worth holding on to. This betrayal taught me that some people are just willing to burn everything down for personal gain, and you have to be ready to fight back or walk away. The biggest lesson for me is that I can't control other people's actions, but I can control how I respond. I could have let her destroy me, become bitter and paranoid forever, but I chose to take the high road, focused on my recovery, my future, and my happiness. I've realized that forgiveness isn't necessarily about her, not anymore. It's about freeing myself from the anger and resentment that threaten to consume me. Forgiveness, I've learned, is more for my peace than for her sake. Through all of this, I discovered a resilience I didn't know I had. Facing a betrayal of this magnitude is one of the hardest things I've ever done, but it also made me stronger. I'm more cautious now, yes, but I'm also more aware of what I want and what I won't tolerate. I refuse to let someone manipulate or cheat me again. I've rebuilt my confidence piece by piece, and I know there's a brighter future ahead, one where I'll be wiser and more guarded, but also happier and more honest with myself. To anyone reading this who's going through something similar, I want to say, don't ignore the red flags. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. When you catch someone lying or hiding things, confront it immediately. Don't wait until it's too late. And if you're betrayed, don't beat yourself up for not seeing it sooner. Sometimes people are masters at hiding who they really are. The important thing is to pick yourself up, learn from the experience, and move forward. You deserve honesty and respect, and no amount of money or material things can replace your peace of mind. Finally, I want to thank everyone who listened and offered support during this nightmare. Sharing my story has been a part of my healing process. It's helped me see that I'm not alone, and that even after the worst betrayals, life can still be good. I'm not cured overnight and I still have scars, but I'm hopeful. Hopeful that I'll find happiness again. True happiness built on trust, honesty, and self-respect. And I hope anyone else facing betrayal can find that same strength to move on, rebuild, and come out the other side better than before. Because if I've learned anything, it's that we're all stronger than we think, especially when it feels like everything is falling apart.